One. We are so excited that you are here with us today and joining us. Again, this is day one. We're kicking off. It's not every day that you work with a company or you're affiliated with a company that celebrates 50 successful years in business. My name is Brian Pitt. I am with the Century 21 University Learning Faculty, and I am just pleased that you guys are here. We've got a great session for you today, day one of our agent session. I want to remind you first, just a couple of housekeeping items. One, for bandwidth, please make sure you turn your camera off. We've got over 250 people with us today. So we want to make sure that everyone has good bandwidth and good connectivity. So please just turn your cameras off. We love to see you always, but today we're gonna ask you to turn those off. Also, remember to keep your phones, not your phones, but your microphones muted. What we're going to do during our session today is we will use the chat. If you have any questions whatsoever, please just type it into the chat and our presenter will be notified of your question and have that opportunity to answer. Celebrate 21 kicks off 21 full days of learning here in the month of March. I almost said May. The month of March. I'm advancing the calendar a little bit. The month of March, 21 full days of learning. We've got some great stuff for you. We have agent learning. We have top producer learning. And for our brokers and managers on the call, we even have leadership learning. Tomorrow in our agent track, we're going to bring you a great session on business planning. And then on Thursday, we'll be back for our agent session learning for the listing presentation, which I know I get a lot of questions about a listing presentation. What's changed? What's different? What can we learn from the listing presentation? Remember to always go to celebrate21.that.com to register for the Celebrate 21 event. And that's where you can access the recordings from all of our sessions. You can also register for any sessions that you want to attend over the next 21 days. We also are going to put a reminder for you in Century 21 University. If you go to the Century 21 University group in Workplace, you'll see a reminder of all of the classes that are available this week, not only in Celebrate 21, which are all unique classes. These classes will not be offered anywhere else, but also within the Century 21 University Learning Library. Now, I mentioned how unique these classes are. These classes are so unique because we've gone out to our agent population and we've asked them to become subject matter experts and talk to you about what works. What are their best practices? And today we have Sarah Paget with us from Century 21 Judge Fight in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Sarah is a double centurion team. She's the team leader of a double centurion team. And you know what? Sarah has time for her life. And that's because she's put some systems in place. So without further ado, I know you didn't come to hear me. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Sarah Paget. Sarah, I've got your presentation up and we're ready to go.
Hello, how are you guys? Okay, so he used the word expert, and I would not say expert. I would say I learned a little bit by fire, and I'm trying my best to save others in the industry from, making some of the same mistakes, maybe save you a little bit of time. So you may have some things that work better for you. I'm just going to share with you what I've come across and what I've learned to be true. So Brian, I don't know on the slide. There we go. Okay. So a couple things before we start. I just wanted to make sure that you guys set some intention. So anytime you learn, there's a ton of distractions, a ton of things you can get wrapped up in, the fuzziness of my hair, the sound of my voice, my accent, whatever it might be sure just to set an intention to learn something today. And even if it's just one thing, it will be worth your time for sure. So set an intention. And before we leave today, we'll have the opportunity to remind you again, what's your one takeaway? What's the one thing you can do in the next few days, next few weeks, few months to just level up a little bit. So I want to start on talking about structure and systems. A lot of times the word system will freak people out. I know somebody like me that's not engineer-ish. The word system sounds very techy and very detailed, and my brain automatically says, that's not me. I want something easy and quick. So I don't want the word system to freak you out. Now, if you are on that tech side or engineer side, that word you may geek out over that word and you may love it. The danger of that, though, is we feel like it has to be this grandiose plan and it all has to be in there. It has to be perfect before we can get started. I want to debunk that for you today and let you know that you can start where you're at. And we'll walk you through how to identify what you might need a system for. So just keep an open mind. A system is really just a solution to a problem. So please make sure, just look for problems in your business and we'll go from there. So when we talk about systems and the reason that we need a system in place, and really anything that you do on scale needs some type of system so you can create some freedom for yourself. And freedom to you could be different than what my freedom is. So freedom could be, I need more freedom in my business so that I can have more home time, or I need more freedom in my business so I can go get more business. That's going to look different for everybody. So what you really want to do is pinpoint in your life what freedom means to you. More money, more business, more time, that's going to be up to you. And then we can decide from there how that goes. So freedom to me definitely is more time. At first, it was more time to get more business because I was doing all the admin stuff and, running around like crazy, and I didn't have time to get more business. So that's what it was initially for me. And then I got to a point where I wanted more time at home with family, or just the ability to go home before, 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Oh, sorry. So I started really double duty. So I was working as a part-time job. When you first get your real estate license, it can be really scary to just know that, hey, this is the only income I have and it's not promised to me, and I could work 30 days and it could fall apart. So I started as a waitress, probably my first real job. And it really taught me a lot about life and about business and really about systems. When you break it down, there's a system to be more efficient in everything that we do. So you think about, if you've ever waited tables, this should make total sense to you. If not, it's okay, just hang in there with us. You've probably eaten somewhere where someone has waited on you. And you've probably even said to yourself, if I were her, I would do this. Or if I were him, I would do it this way. So just bear with me for a minute and imagine a waitress. So your main job is to keep that customer happy and do things in a timely manner, and really to be efficient in your job so that you can take care of more than one table at a time. It's really hard to make money as a waitress if you can only focus on one party at a time from start to finish, from when they walk into the door and you hand them menus to when they walk out. So you really want to be intentional. When you put that in a real estate term, you really want to focus on being able to have different people in different phases of a contract, different phases of the buying or selling process, where you're not starting from start to finish, moving them out and starting over. So you can be a lot more efficient if you can work several at a time. So group tasks together that make sense. So for example, if you have 2 tables that just sat down, all those tables are going to need menus and water. It would be the most efficient way to use your time by taking all the menus at one time, all the waters at one time, so that those are kind of done and you've appeased them long enough to maybe you can start on the 3rd table. I kind of compare it to spinning plates as well. So I don't know if y'all have seen like the magicians and entertainers where they're spinning plates. You've got to get one started and going, get the other one, and then you're going back to check in. Is this one still spinning? Okay, here's this one. And now the 3rd. So that's really what you're doing when you're waiting tables, and that's really what you're doing when you're trying to expand your business. If you don't know where to start, especially if you're new to the business, just if I was new to waitressing, I would watch what other people in the restaurant were doing, as well as talking to them and asking them for tips. So don't be afraid to ask a competitor or ask somebody else in your office some things that you might be able to do to make your job more efficient. They may already have a tool for you. Now, I can speak to our office. We are very much a sharing office. And so if we've created some type of technology or something that works, we share that. So I definitely would suggest that you be that person as well. So if you come up with something, a system that works for you, please share that with others. All right. Okay, so we talked before, don't get overwhelmed by the word system. You don't have to be perfect to go to church. That's the reason you're going. See, the system does not have to be perfect to work in your business. You've got to start the system first to figure out how it's going to work and to tweak it. So don't wait till your system is perfect to put it in place. It's just a solution to a problem. So don't be overwhelmed by that. Just know that your system is there to solve a problem to help you work more efficiently. So we're going to walk you through a little bit of that. The first thing I would suggest, because you get the option here, you can be the thermostat or the thermometer. And I don't know where I read this somewhere. It's not my brain. Some book, some podcast somewhere talked about the difference between a thermostat and a thermometer. So the thermostat, you're controlling what the temperature is in the room, right? So you're in control. You set that to your comfort level versus a thermometer where you're more of a reaction to the temperature. You don't have control over your reading. So by having a system and getting ahead of the real estate process, you now are in control of the situation. You can save yourself some time, energy, effort, money, fill in the blank, by being the thermometer or being the thermostat. If you're the thermometer, you're just constantly reacting because people are calling you and asking questions and asking you of your time. So really be intentional when you set some of these ideas and these systems up, that you are in control of the situation and you're getting ahead of where you want to be. All right. So the first thing I would say, so whether you're new in the business or you've been in the business a long time or somewhere in between, it doesn't matter where you're at. And this can be on a personal level too. Think of tasks that you do over and over. What's something that you are constantly repeating? That's what you want to start with. You're not looking for a system for something that you do once a year. We can get to that later down the road if that's something that you need to do. But right now, we want to look for a pain point. We want to look for something that you do over and over and over. So, for an example, let's see, a task that I do over and over again. I answer a lot of the same questions over and over again, especially from first time home buyers. There's just a list of questions that they always have. That was my first moment of like, oh, I should be getting ahead of this, being that thermostat and getting ahead of it and maybe saving myself a phone call or two or a text or two. So I started putting some systems in place for things that I saw over and over. I highly recommend, because your phone is always in your hand, start a note section and just make some notes. If you find yourself saying the same thing over and over, answering a question or a task that you do again over and over, that needs to be put in a list somewhere for future reference as you build your systems.
Hey, Sarah, just to pop in here, just for you,
Sure.
you guys as well, I mentioned that I'm kind of the wingman in the background. But Sarah, uh, if we have some questions that come up in the chat, I'll just pop in like this. I actually had someone that said that they were happy to see your face.
Hi, Miss Haley.
Haley
Hi, Haley.
said, "Hi, Sarah, miss your face." But this is a great opportunity right here. This question for you guys out there. We are almost at 400 people on the call with us today. Go into the chat and let us know some of the tasks that you do over and over. And if you have any questions, please put it in the chat, and that way we can let Sarah know.
Perfect. And sometimes we're not aware of the task we do over and over until we think back through. So just think back through a day, or just, take some time in your business. And maybe that's once a week, once a month, once a quarter, where you just sit and kind of look at your business, look what you're doing, and see if there's any trends that you can point out that might save you some time down the road to create a system. All right. So the other thing, something that I did wrong is especially as business grew, I tried to fix all the things all at one time and find a system for everything. Because if you're like me, you want everything to be working perfectly and today, not tomorrow, I want it yesterday. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed with that, because a lot of times when it's too big, we don't do anything. So I want you to start with one system. And what makes the most sense to me is to start with the one with the biggest pain point. So not necessarily the easiest system to create. What we're trying to do is buy you the most leverage. So what in your business is screaming the loudest at you? Is it calls from buyers? Is it calls from agents? Is it emails? Is it, whatever that is for you, you need to figure out what the biggest is, if that makes sense. So not necessarily, again, not the easiest for you to do, not the most fun, because that's what we do a lot as agents too. We want to pick out what's fun to do. I want you guys to think about what is the biggest thing, biggest pain point in your business, and we want to start there. And I don't know, again, if you guys have things like this, we can do examples, but I want you to kind of think through your business. And today, if you could take one thing out of your business and say, I don't want to do that because it's too much, it's too often, that's what we're going to focus on first. Okay. All right. So once you decide what you want to focus on, and I'm going to use the example of, we'll say buyers. So buyers that say they either text, call, or email you saying, I'm ready to buy a house. Where do I start? That was probably one of the first systems that I set up for myself. So I prioritized that because it was something that I was answering sometimes a couple times a day, but several over a week, where I was having to sit down, take the time to type, write out an email, text, whatever platform I was on, sometimes Facebook, to ask the same questions over and over. Then I was like, draft email. I need something. So you're going to set it up. You're going to set it up for the best that you can do with the time that you have. It does not have to be perfect. It could be as easy as copying and saving it in your notes until you can get back to it later, but you're going to set it up. You're not going to wait for that perfection to implement it. Then what you're going to do is tweak it over time. Now, I never ever would say completely get rid of a system. If you've taken the time, energy, and effort to set it up, you want to keep as much of that as you can, unless it's just completely not working, then we can trash it. But for the most part, we've got a good foundation built on those systems, and we can just tweak them to make them fit a little better. Or if things in the business change, if the market changes or something substantially changes technology wise, you've just got to be able to shift and move that over by refining it and not starting over. All right, we good so far? Okay, the other thing that you want to do is you want to think bigger than today. So I think a lot about, so I don't know where you guys are from. I know it looked like all over, but in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, almost every highway is under construction all the time. And I see that as, I don't know if it's poor planning as much as it just takes some time. But by the time they get those highways expanded, it's usually time to start again. So you've got to think in the future, the system that works for one buyer or 5 buyers, you want to build a system that could work for 10, 20, 30 buyers. So you want to be able to build a system bigger than what you need today while you're in there and working. Just think a little bigger. So for example, what I have, the buyer that sent me that text, I had it saved on my phone as an auto text that I could respond to them. Not an auto text, but where you type in a word and it fills it in. I had it there. Well, then somebody would email me. Well, at the time, my technology, my phone didn't talk to my computer. So then I was like, again, trying to figure out, well, it's a draft here. And then maybe somebody would call with that same question or on Facebook. So I decided to build a system that instead of it just working with text, it now works with mail, call, email, Facebook, whatever. So think a little bigger if you can to expand your system where it works on a couple different platforms or for a couple different people. You might have different people might want to communicate differently with you. So it may not always be something that you can text or email. So just think a little bit bigger as you're building and see if you can expand that a little bit, that bandwidth, so that it can hold a little bit more. All right, so when we talked about prioritizing, again, I really want you guys to focus on one thing at a time and what is speaking the loudest to you. And I think I have a slide in here because the buyer was one of mine, so we'll talk about that in a minute. So a priority in real estate, really, if you want to stay in real estate, is to get more business, right? So you want to get more business, but you also have to be able to handle it. You're going to hear me go back to food quite a bit. 1, because I was a waitress, and 2, because I love food. So, and it makes sense. Everybody likes to eat. So think about a restaurant. If a restaurant wanted to expand, let's say they have 1 table and 1 waitress. And for the most part, a waitress can wait on several tables. So you're going to want to build your business where you're getting the amount of customers in that you can handle, still take good care of. The waitress isn't completely exhausted, and your customers are happy, and you can seat several people at a time. At some point, you're going to want more business. That waitress is going to get better at her craft where she can serve more people. You're going to get more efficient at cutting down things, in the process, water, drinks, food, menus, all that kind of stuff. So things are going to start happening as these systems go in place that allow you to naturally expand. But we've all been in line at a restaurant before. It's good food, good service, but maybe we're waiting outside for an hour now. That is where your business can start to suffer if you've got the wherewithal, you have the knowledge, but you may not have the support or the systems to bring more people in a timely manner, or for them to get the service that they need. There's going to be a breakdown at some point. So the priority in your business is to get more business, but to keep what you have happy and expand that organically or as naturally as possible. Okay, so far so good. All right. So one of the things I did, now this is going to take me back a little bit to paper, and we do most of our things electronically, but I wanted to take you back to how I first started really honing in on my leads. Originally, I had a spiral notebook. Someone would call, or I'd have an envelope. We've all written on napkins on our hands, I'm sure. Someone would call and it would be a lead, right? We would put it down somewhere. That could be anywhere. It could be 10 different places. Unless you were organized, it could have all been in one, but still, it wasn't necessarily an efficient way to do it. And if you lost that notebook, I know when I first started, every agent had the book. They had this notebook or calendar or planner that everything was in. The problem is, if you lost that, it's gone. What I struggled with is those leads were just names. They were just names, and it was whoever was calling me was the most important, because there might be 20 names, and I was only taking care of those who were reaching out to me. So I wasn't able to follow up in a way that I wanted. So I created these two sheets, the buyer and seller information sheet. And actually, Haley on this, she's on the platform now. She helped me get it in a PDF because it was just paper. But what I did, it turned the lead into some time, energy, and effort. And these are questionnaires that I would ask the buyer and the seller. But it was in a format that I could put my hands on this. Okay. Now I started with a binder. Again, I'm dating me. It's back to paper, but it's whatever works, right? It worked for the time. So the year that I had a quantum leap in my business is I turned those leads that were written down on a piece of paper. I took the time to put them on a sheet with the information and the qualifications, the questions that I had asked them, and they now went into a binder where I could follow up with them in a timely manner. Okay. Once I had an assistant, an admin, this page could now go to my admin and I could say, write listing paperwork for me. They have the information. They can sit down. They can pull tax records. They can, put their information in my CRM for me. So there's all types of things you can do with this information. Again, we're thinking bigger. Even if this is you by yourself, you want to start thinking, how can I get this to an admin? How would this help me down the road to have this information somewhere? So this was very helpful for me just to get it on paper, and it turned that name into a lead, into something that was super important to me because I took the time to ask the questions.
Sarah, there are quite a few questions in the chat regarding this form that you've built. And of course, I want to ask your permission, since it is a form that you have. The questions are if they can get a copy of it, or if you could suggest how they can create their own.
Of course, yeah. So actually, like I said, Haley that had a shout out earlier, I had kind of an idea of what I wanted. I did it on Word, because at first I just did Word and I printed it. And this is where the technology came in, where I was like, I can do this more efficiently. I don't have to print every time. And so I gave her that, and I paid her. It wasn't a lot, sorry, Haley, but I paid her to turn this into a PDF. There's things like Fiverr. It's an app website where you can get any type of technology, anything done for you for very, very inexpensive. I'm not gonna make Haley do this for all of you guys, but it was super easy. It's a super easy thing to do. You make it into a PDF fillable format, so I can actually go in here and type save it as a PDF and email it or save it or whatever I want to do. All right, were there more questions, Brian? Sorry.
I think that would be the end of it. And I'm going to put into the information. It's Fiverr. I'm going to put it into the chat for everyone so that you can get that. But thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And they really can do anything. They can do, websites. They can do logos. They can do anything technology wise, and they'll give you a quote and things before you get too involved. All right. Okay, Brian, next one. All right. So once building more business, we talked about keeping that customer happy. How happy is a customer, or have you been when you order an appetizer and you don't get it, or you have that feeling that they forgot? Okay. So what you want to do is you want your clients and your customers to stay top of mind. You want to stay top of mind for them, and you want to stay, vice versa. You guys want to be thinking of each other often. The idea of real estate is to be top of mind to your client when it's time for them to buy or sell. Okay. So it's got to be persistent. You also want to reach out to them in a way that they'll remember. So Anne, I believe, is on the call here as well. So I got this idea from her, but she sends birthday cards. Okay. So every month she sends out, I don't know how many she's up to now, but she sends out birthday cards. And we put a Texas lottery ticket in there because it's $1 and it's fun. Sometimes they win money. So something I was doing, this was back when I was handwriting all of my own. That was another system I added in. I would pre-address the envelope, and at the top right where the stamp goes, I would put the date that it needed to go in the mailbox. Okay. And that was because the people getting it never saw it because the stamp went over it. But then I could pre-do it. I could date them all, address them all, and then they would sit on my desk until I saw the date pop up on the corner. I'm like, okay, that needs to go in the mailbox today. And I would put the stamp over it. So that gave me a way to work ahead or to have someone else mail them for me. I could do a whole month in advance, but instead of them getting it on the 1st when their birthday might be on the 31st, I would do it 3 or 4 days out. So they were probably had a better chance of getting it on their birthday. So that's one of the systems that I did. I do a lot of handwritten notes. What works for me is to have my assistant do this now, but I would take, let's say I want to do 5 notes a day. I would take 5 notes. I would have her, do the return on them. They were ready to go in not completely in the envelope, but under the flap. So that way I could write them. And she would put a little sticky note that said Monday. So I would have Monday through Friday on my desk. I could work ahead if I wanted to, but I knew visually I could see I've got 5 days of notes to do. So that was just a system. Again, the system part of it doesn't have to be technological, we'll just say tech. That's an easier word. It doesn't have to be techie, okay? It can be a note card on your desk. It can be a sticky note on your desk. But the idea is to get your tasks done that you need done in a timely manner or to work ahead. And if it's visual, it's visual. The other thing we do anniversary reports for our clients on the month of their anniversary. So when they bought the house, so not a wedding anniversary necessarily, but a house anniversary. So we do a CMA. We also send them an anniversary card in the mail, and that CMA you can do several different ways. Ninja Selling is something I've been reading, and he recommends that you call and you say, "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it's time for your yearly annual escrow checkup or yearly annual equity checkup." And you can make it sound official, because it kind of is. And you say, yeah, I just wanted you to know how much equity you've built in your house in the last year or the last 4 years or whatever their anniversary is. And you say, my report's already done. Would you prefer that I email that to you, drop a copy up at the house, or would you guys like to meet for coffee? And it gives you that talking point, and it's a way to reach out, and it's a way to stay top of mind. And that gives you, at least if all else fails, you've now touched them 2 times in a year: birthday and house anniversary. The other thing we like to do in our business as a team is, I believe we're up at 89% referrals, meaning we don't pay for leads. We don't have to do that because we try to take care of the people we have, and we try to get those referrals back. So the system that we have in place to reward referrals is a company that you see on the screen called brownies.com. I don't get paid for this. I don't get any kind of, I wish I did. I need to be like an Instagram, whatever. Um, but brownies.com, and you could pick anything. So what they'll do, and we took the time to brand it. So they put our Century 21 logo, our name on it. And let's say Aunt Mary called me and referred John. So I would immediately, not when I talked to John, not when John bought a house, but immediately when Aunt Mary makes that connection, I go to brownies.com, I put in her address, and it says, "Thank you so much, Aunt Mary, for sending John my way." And these brownies are delivered to her. It's fairly quick. And I want to say we spend $23. It's gone up a little bit. But they love to post it on Facebook all the time, like, "Oh, I got brownies." For a long time, I had a couple that they had sent several referrals kind of in a row, and their daughter called me the brownie lady. Like, that's perfect. And so I think her daughter was actually starting to kind of try to get me referrals so she could get more brownies. So things like that are kind of simple, and you guys can share that with each other. There's also I think it's called Blackbird Box Company. I think they're local to DFW. They may be bigger, I'm not sure, but they will deliver moving boxes to your clients. So after the appraisal and your listing's getting ready and they're packing up, send them some boxes. Things that are kind of automatic that you can do, kind of keeps you top of mind through the process. All right, so here are some feedback, this is the best advertisement for me. So these are people that all received brownies from me in the past. You'll see the dates range from 2014, 16, 18, 19. We've done this a long time and it works. But without me asking or prompting or saying, "Hey, please post this on Facebook," these guys are so excited. I mean, brownies, who wouldn't be excited? These guys are so excited to get brownies that they're doing the advertising for me. Okay. So again, it may not get a direct lead from this, but now all their friends on Facebook are seeing this as well as mine. So they're doing that advertising for me. All right. So serving your clients. Sorry, Brian, did you need something? Okay, sorry. So serving your clients, that again, you've got to take care of them to get those referrals. And so you've got to watch for breakdowns in your system. It can't be serving your clients. So whatever that is, serving your clients has to be something that you keep top of mind throughout the process. So we've got a couple samples here as well, I believe. Okay, so I noticed a breakdown in serving my clients when I was out serving clients. Okay, so I'm out showing houses, someone's calling or texting or emailing me. I'm trying to, not text and drive, but I'm trying to take care of them the best I can while still focusing on these clients and not forgetting what I just told someone I would do. Okay, so this is a very antiquated system, but I would email myself, because email to me was something that I like to clear out. It was a way that I could go back when I had time, and when I got back to my desk, I now had some to-dos in an email format. So this is just a sample. These are people that had reached out to me in a way and I felt like I really needed to write them a note. So I simply emailed myself. I didn't have to get my computer out. I didn't make a note on a spiral somewhere. I emailed myself so that it's going to stay in my inbox until I do it. So you don't have to think these big systems have to be crazy. It can be something that works for you for the time being. And this, I can consolidate 3 or 4 to-dos in an email, and it sits there again until I do it.
Hey, Sarah, before we go to the next slide, I just wanted to make a note, because a lot of people are putting their emails into the chat, which I absolutely love, because with a network that is as large as the Century 21 network is, it's always good to have a good referral or a point of contact somewhere else in the country. But I'm not sure if people understand that what we are doing. And Sarah, you made this, you said it so perfectly. Your system may not work for everyone else. So what we're doing, what Sarah is talking about, is tips how you can build your own systems. So if you're putting your name in the chat to get a copy of Sarah's PDF, remember that this is a way for you to build your own. And I'm sure Sarah or her team would be more than willing to help you through it. but we will not be sending out Sarah's PDF to everyone. So, but we thank you for your emails. We love that. All right. And
And
if you have any questions, please feel free to put those into the chat as well.
And I really don't mind sharing with everyone, but I do not know that I have the bandwidth to type them all out. But you guys are welcome. I don't know, Brian, could we pull it up for them to screenshot where they could at least maybe get or maybe we do that at the end where they could screenshot their computer?
Oh, that's a great idea. We can go back at the end when you're finished and go back and let everyone take a screenshot so that you can build it yourself. Absolutely. And keep in mind also that the session is being recorded as well. So you can always listen to the recording again through the celebrate21.splashthat.com, access the recording and get more information there as well.
Perfect. Thank
But
you.
remind me at the end, we'll go right back to that slide.
Perfect. And you guys can screenshot, or I think they said in the chat too, of course, use your phone and you can take a quick picture with your phone. So this is one of those that you may want to do that with. This is a
I don't know why.
So this is a system.
Hold on. There we go. Thank you, Sarah. I muted you by accident trying to unmute someone else. So
You're good.
My apologies.
This is probably one of my earliest systems, and we've tweaked it since. So you can see the last time I probably changed it was in 2018. But this is the email. You know, when I said buyers were asking, I'm ready to start looking, what should I do? Well, I might be out showing houses until 8 o'clock that night, and I may not be able to get back to them, but I wanted to give them something to get started so they knew that I heard them and so that I could start getting some information. So I would say, if you'll send me your email address, I'll send you a quick email to help us get started. And that was what I was copying and pasting, text, email, Facebook, and to get their email. That reminded me because they were going to send their email back. Now that message is unread, so I can get to it when I get to it. Or I can, again, if you've got an assistant, you can have this set up this way as well. You now have that email address. This is set up as a draft in my email. So I send this to them and I say, and you guys can read it if you want, but basically we're looking forward to helping you. Here's some things that I want to ask of you so that I can get started and I can help you in the right way. And it's asking things like beds, back, price range, square footage. Do you have to sell a house first? Have you talked to a loan officer? And a lot of these, I would prefer to have this conversation on the phone if I can, but this helps with those 8, 9, and 10, like 10 o'clock calls or text. Maybe you could buy yourself some time, or if you are out with another client, this is that, the appetizer to keep them satisfied until the entree gets here, right? So you're just taking care of them, you're appeasing them, and you're giving them something to do. So this was awesome because what this does too is when they reply now, if you have an assistant, this can be forwarded. You can forward it to your assistant and say, please set them up. If you set people up in MLS or if you've got a CRM, however you search for properties, you now have, if you're a loan agent, you've got this email that's in your to-do now. If not, you can forward that to whoever's helping you and say, please set these people up online. Or like in my situation, I could go to one of the buyer's agents on my team. They buy and sell, but you know what I mean? I could go to one of the agents on my team and say, here's a buyer. And I can send it to the lender. Here's the information and all the things that they said, because they're going to start giving you some information on themselves and on the process. I also say, I'm open to sitting down with you for 30 minutes so that we can talk through this. Of course, we can always do Zoom if you guys want to do that now. So this is just a way to buy yourself a little bit of time. And this is totally a system. Even though it's an email and it's a draft, it's a system that buys you some time and gives you some leverage to make sure you're taking care of who's in front of you. All right, so once I was juggling a ton of buyers. I did have an admin at the time, which I still do, but at the time it was just me and an admin. So I might be out showing houses literally all day long. Well, the last thing you want to do when you get home at 8 or 9 o'clock is to write an offer, but at the same time, that's how you make money, right? So you want to be writing offers, but you don't always have the time. So this was something that I started doing. I would take this out with me. And again, this can be turned into PDF fillable. You can put on your iPad, whatever works for you technology wise. I was a clipboard when I was a clipboard agent. And every person had their own clipboard. So don't judge me, but whatever, that's what worked for me. And I would carry these with me for each property or each client that I had. I would just had some blank ones. So let's say Mr. and Mrs. Smith want to write an offer on Main Street. While I'm there, or if I can get them, a phone call or a text, while I'm there, or they say they want to make an offer, I start jotting down what this offer, how this offer is to read. I make sure I've got all of their pertinent information. Even if I know this stuff, you want to get in the habit of writing it down because then admin can do this. So this is what I was doing. I would fill it out completely so that I could send it to the admin. They could write my offer. Then I could go back and check it later. It got rid of some of that, the stuff that just takes a little bit of time. So I was still going back, checking my offers, that sort of thing. But this got me started. They could start that paperwork for me fairly easily. Okay, you can go to the next one.
As I already went to the next one a few
you're good.
minutes ago. That was my fault. I hit the button. But as we go through this, ladies and gentlemen who are on the call, here's an opportunity again to take a screenshot, take a picture of it so that you can build your own. There's some great information that's going into the chat as well. John Fisher also said that you can go online and do a Google search for buyer or seller info sheets, and there are multiples in PDF format. So I love this. Sarah, you are literally singing to me right now about systems and why they're so important. And when you think about this, and I love the exercise that we did at the beginning about writing down the things that you do just over and over and over again, right? That's what this is about. Sarah, I'm really excited about hearing the rest. Let's keep moving. I'm so sorry for interrupting.
Oh, you're fine. And I will say on those buyer and seller info sheets, basically the information I put on there is what I would ask them on the phone. So if that helps you at all, name, address, phone number, is there another party that, is a part of the process, things like that. So just kind of think through what you already have it here. You just need it on paper because you have a script, whether you think you do or not, you say the same thing over and over. So that's really how it translated into paper for me. Okay, so this is a form that we created. And again, this has gotten a little more techie along the way. This is a PDF fillable now as well. But this is what I take on the listing appointment with me. And this is important because I have somebody help me on the listing end. Or if you go on, again, you're trying to think bigger than what you're doing. So it's great. If you have one listing this week or this month, easy peasy, but you want to build something bigger. So you want this to be able to hold, let's say you take one a day this week. That's going to look a lot different because you have like Creek Meadow and Meadow Brook and Brookfield. You've got all these addresses and who said what and when are they going to be ready for pictures and do they want to sign and did I get the key from them yet? Do they have a lockbox? So you want to get this system in place now so that you can expand into those 4 or 5 listings a week or more. This could be, this is invaluable when it comes to expanding. This also goes to my assistant. So my assistant knows she can order pictures for me. We order signs so people deliver them for us, but this is when the seller homework that's a blank on there, I leave them homework, and that's another system we did. I leave them homework to fill out that helps me fill out my MLS, things that I might forget to ask them, things that they might be really important to them in the description. So we fill all this out. I fill this out at the listing, and I also let the seller take a picture of this because there's a lot of dates that they may want to write down. When is there pictures? When are we going to take it active? What day are we doing an open house? When is the sign going to be out? When do I need their seller's disclosure back? So these are all things you can write dates in. They can take a picture with their phone, but we are turning this into a Google form. So this information, that's what we're doing right now. We're tweaking, we're not erasing, we're not starting over, taking the same information and we're putting it to a Google form so it goes directly to our listing admin. So the second someone fills it out, she already knows, or I would probably be filling this out for the seller, but she already knows what's coming and how to order pictures. So we're taking that step out of having to bring it back to the office. With COVID, I hate to say that word, but with COVID, we've learned that we need to be universal and we need to, we can't have a stack of paper on our desk that we need to touch today, because what if we can't get to the office today? So this is all about turning it, back to technology. So the seller homework package that I talked about, again, I had an idea in mind of kind of what I wanted to look like. I paid someone to make this look pretty for me, to, put a logo on it, whatever. It does not have to The seller doesn't know how it's supposed to go. So it's okay. You just put something out there. They don't know what it's supposed to look like. And this is that whole thermostat thing. You were setting the pace and the temperature, and you were deciding how it's going to go. So this is what I leave for the seller. That first page that says seller homework package, those are all checklists. Those are all things that we need to get started on the listing. Things like we have an exclusion list. So the things that we provided are in there, as well as things like, do you have an alarm? That was something we had to learn. The alarms that are leased out, that was an issue. It was a pain point for us because we forget that sometimes things are leased and not owned, and then they have to come and remove them. Or do you have a Ring doorbell? Things like that that we saw as pain points, we had to start adding in to save ourselves some heartache. So we've got a good checklist. We give them a sample of the survey so they know what that looks like as they're digging through their paperwork. We ask them to find that. The exclusion list. This was a huge pain point for us. We lost, I think it was like $3,000 maybe on a water softening system because they clearly stated, and I put it in the listing paperwork, that they were that they wanted to keep their water softening system, but I didn't get it in MLS and it didn't make it on the contract. So it was my fault. So I had to eat it. So that became a pain point. So now there is a separate document in my file that asks them one more time, anything else you want to exclude. Is you do have a prize rose bush or whatever, so we break that down and give them some examples. The third thing that we've done is we work with our title company, because part of your job, you want your job to be as easy as possible and you want people to work the way you work. We started asking the people we work with, such as lenders, title companies, what's best for you? So we get the seller to fill out the open title form when we go and sit down to take the listing. This goes to our title company right away. And if they see things on there like divorce, death, bankruptcy, foreclosure notice, things like that, it gives them an idea of, do I need to start and pull title now? Is this something I need to be working on? It talks about HOA. And it also gives us a chance to check one more time for things they may not have told us in the process.
Hello?
All right, Brian, can you go to the next one? Sorry. All right, so this is still that packet, extra info, what I tell them here. And I remind them, you're not doing my job for me. I just don't want to miss anything that's important to you. So if this is something you don't have time to do, it's okay. But this will make sure that we pinpoint the right things. That extra information sheet asks things, what do you like most about your home? What are you going to miss the most? What are its best features? We use this to help with our description. So again, admin is writing a description on a house they've never seen, but now they have some details to add in. And then again, we ask one more time about exclusions. So that's on there again. I'm telling you, it's been huge. We also took from MLS the input form. So that's that second page there with a bunch of tiny little boxes. We let them know that with technology, it's so crazy that if we miss something small on the checkbox, they could miss a buyer. So if a buyer has to have a kitchen island, but my fat finger doesn't hit it when I'm inputting the listing, that could lose them a buyer. So I explain the importance of this. I don't want them to think they're doing my job for me. I want them to understand that I don't want to miss anything. So I'd rather be redundant up front instead of going and backpedaling later when we figured out we might have missed something. So this just takes them through the entire MLS, and we can print this from ours. We just put our logo on it so that they could go in and fill out the things about their house. The measurement form, I have an electronic measure, so I can do that for them. I offer that for them. The engineers want to do it themselves because they don't think I can measure correctly. So you'll have some people that want to do it, some people that don't, but we have that there just in case, or they may have a layout or a floor plan. And so my idea is to get all this together and then hand it to the admin so they can input it for me. All right, you can go to the next one. So this is something I got from, I believe, Jared James. I want to make sure I'm giving him credit for it. It's a children's listing agreement. So this was something we added in, kind of fun. If you've got anybody with kids, this has gone over super well. You basically have a conversation with them and say, listen, we're going to be selling your house. So it's very important that you keep your room clean. You make your bed, you pick up your toys, things like that. And you sign this contract with them. And at the end of all of this, you agree to give them a $25 gift card from anywhere of their choice. A lot of kids choose Chick-fil-A over toys or, anything else, which I don't blame them. Sounds good to me. But this is something to get them involved. Parents love it, and it gives them a reason, to make their bed. So that's something, and I believe it was Jared James, if I'm not mistaken, where I got this from, and we just tweaked it to kind of fit our team. Okay. All right. So admin, and I wish someone would have told me when I started. In my opinion, admin is the first thing that you need. Starting out, it's huge in this business because you will spend your life spinning wheels and trying to gain traction. And you don't have time to do the things that make you more money if you're always doing the things just to play catch up. So you've got to be able to ace the admin. So if you are currently by yourself and you plan to stay that was my plan. I never thought about having admin or a team or any of that, but it happens. So what I would do if I were you, your systems that you're putting in place, figure out how that would work with an admin. The things that you're doing now, how does that translate to an admin? What could you do to pass that over to someone to help you take care of it? So that was huge for me. And then writing things down, especially if you are new, write your process down, build a working document so that people know how to log into your systems and what to do and how to input a listing. You're doing it anyway. And if you have the time, you might as well start it, because now you have a guide, a manual to running your business, that instead of sitting down with an admin when you hire and starting from scratch, you now have a good grasp of how that works and how to get them started.
Sarah.
Yes, sir.
You have been so amazing that you have enthralled them. But we finally have a great question that came into the chat.
Perfect.
The question is, how do you find a good admin?
It's really hard. It's one of those things that, sometimes you've got to throw somebody in there. The first admin I hired turned out great. It could have gone the other way, I guess, but I waited too late. So I did not have the chance to sit down and train. She had to learn by fire, kind of like I did. So there's a lot of books that you can read. I think Energy Bus is one. Hiring the right people is super hard. You want to hire slowly, fire quickly. So you want to really be methodical about what you need. But I think for the most part, you need someone that's not like you. And then most of the issue with hiring admin is being able to delegate. And that's something that all agents need to work on, is delegation, because you think that no one can do it like you. Well, they can, but they could probably do it better because they have more time and more patience. So I start with things that are easy to delegate or things I don't necessarily like to do. And I still keep some things around that I like that may not be income producing. But just start, hire someone, talk to someone else that has an admin. Start putting feelers out there, hire a buyer's agent, maybe that's not doing a lot. They're licensed, but maybe they're not super successful or haven't been closing a lot, and maybe get them as a starting point. I think there was another question.
And I apologize, but somehow I have moved the slides backwards. So
You're
I'm
good.
going to move them forward. And I don't see, let's see, do you have a system to track your clients through each process?
Do you mean as far as like buyers and sellers, like track like through the, I'm sorry, I don't think I understand the question.
Natalie is on the call. Natalie, if you have the opportunity to come off mute to explain your question, that would be great.
That was Kim, actually. Yes, your buyers and sellers, like a Monday.com, like you've got somebody to contract and then they go, to inspections, right? You're going to move somebody down the path and you have, I don't know, 4 sellers at the same time. Like
Gotcha.
you have something like that.
Sure. So what I use as a CRM, I had Boomtown. Boomtown was super expensive. I don't recommend it. I don't like spending money, and Boomtown was super expensive. It did its job, but super expensive. Again, I do not promote that because it was a lot of money. The one I'm using now is called Sierra Interactive. Any CRM will work, but what you need to do is get action plans set. So you need a system that will let you do action plans. And you can even, there's add-ons for Google like Boomerang and things like that, where you can schedule certain auto emails to go out. So anyway, yeah, on Trello, somebody mentioned Trello, I use that as well at one point, where you could kind of move them through the phases of the contract. But I try to do anything as much as I can automated. And so we have action plans for every stage, buyers, maybe a buyer with a new build, that timeline is going to look different. So I just wrote out how all that's going to go. Maybe I'm calling them once a day, once a week, whatever that process is in that stage of the business. That's how I'm reaching out to them. But I have all of that set up where I'm doing it once. You know what I mean? Like I'm setting my system up. And so as I plug buyers in, I can plug them in that part in their system. So to answer your question, yes, but I had to find a CRM that did that for me. But that you could go ahead and write your action plans until you find a system that works for you. And you're welcome. I used my calendar for a long time too. When I got a contract in, I would sit down with my calendar, my Google Calendar, and I would literally put in, this is when the option expires. This is when the financing expires. This is when we're closing. This is when their lease back is up. So that was my initial system, just to keep my, so I wouldn't forget someone's option period. So that was the first thing I did until I got where, again, trying to expand and to do a little more business. And then someone said Business Builder and Zap. I have used Zap a little bit. I'm not versed in it. And again, nothing against Century 21 at all. I haven't been in the system enough to speak intelligently on it. I would say anything you can get for free. That's what I started with. And even today, I don't spend a lot of money on anything. Other than taking care of clients that send me referrals. I don't really advertise or anything. I use Sierra Interactive. Just one I found online by doing a little bit of research. But again, your system does not have to cost money. I don't want to promote that in any way.
Another question that actually came in accidentally by direct message. Are you using video in your systems?
Yeah, so we used BombBomb a little bit for a while, and it's integrated into my Gmail where I can record videos. And if y'all are not familiar with BombBomb, it's B-O-M-B, BombBomb. And it puts it in the body of the email, so you're not really clicking and it's not really taking to somewhere else. You can see my face, and then it's a video. Kind of looks like a little video YouTube box, but you can see me moving and some motion. So I've used that more for birthdays and things. And I'll, every now and then I'll use it on my phone. If I'm talking to someone or texting a lot, I want them to be able to see my face and just put a face with the name. So I'm sure I could use video a little bit more, but with BombBomb, you can record it and you can label it what it is. And those could go out the same way you guys were talking about, hey, it's time for an inspection. This is what happens. This is what you need to expect. So that's something video would be very helpful, I think.
Yes, and we use BombBomb on the learning team as well. So you may have received some videos from me or from any of the other learning instructors, and it is really simple and very, very interactive. So it's a good way. Let's see. There are some great information that people have been sharing in the chat, which I love. That's what we're all here for, about different CRMs, different tools. So, here we go. Here's another question. How many are on your team and how many units did you close in 2020?
Oh, I want to say we closed 140 in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. 2020 was a weird year. We took a little bit of a hit in 20, but not much, which we were really proud of. We didn't have to fire any admin we didn't have to lay anybody off. So we were still profitable. Today we have 11 team members, which again, I never wanted a team. It just happened. So it's myself and my husband. And then we've got 3, 4, 5 buyers. We call them buyers, not buyers agents. They do both. So we're basically running a mini brokerage within a brokerage is kind of how we're doing it. And then admin. So I've got a licensed admin, and then I have somebody that does my finances, and then I have somebody that answers the phone, and neither of them are licensed. One of them is working on it. And then we hired a high school intern this year that's been really interesting. It's been great. We pay him. We don't have to, but we pay him, and he's been able to get in the technology part and kind of catch us old people up on, here's some things you can do. So that's been really cool too, to be able to have a young person around and let them teach us a few things.
Awesome. I think we are pretty caught up in the chat, so we're going to go ahead and continue on from here, Sarah, if that's all right with you.
Perfect. Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Sir, thank you.
Sorry, it's a Southern thing. People always say, I'm not old. I'm like, I wasn't saying you're old. So we talked about the automated plans or emails. Again, don't be afraid just to set some draft emails and label them inspection, warranty, whatever, where you're copying and pasting. It does not have to cost you money, and I recommend that it doesn't. Transaction emails is something we started, oh gosh, probably 10 years ago or so. And I know there's a lot of people on this call, even from my office, that do this. But once you get under contract, we email title, lender, the other agent, and we say, hey, here's the party, here's all the parties in the contract, all of their contact information, all of the important dates, and a copy of the contract. It's all there together. And what that does, it keeps you from getting 2 or 3 weeks in and the lender saying, I've never got the contract, or the title company, what contract? So just pretend everything's your job and get it to everybody. And that transaction email has been huge. So we just have a template. We fill in the address, we fill in, the dates, and then it goes on its way. We talked about this earlier too. Set yourself up for admin, even if you don't have one. You don't want to be in a situation where if you bump your head, your business is over. You've got to have stuff somewhere where someone else can access it, and they know how to access it, and they know your process. Set templates on things like, we use zip forms for all of our offers. We have templates in there where we're not having to write in the broker and the brokerage ID and the address and all that. We have all of that done already. Same with emails and text. Everyone's cell phone have shortcuts where you could, like, I can type in C21 on my phone and our office address automatically autofills in my text. Things like that are huge. When you talk to a buyer or seller lead, put their name in your phone right away. You'd be surprised how often we forget to do that. And when someone calls and you can say, hey, Bobby, it makes them feel so good. And it's so easy then to try to go back into your system and find their name or number if you need to call them. Another process that we've started using the last few years is Seller Shield. And what that does is that helps us with the seller's disclosure. That process was, we were having to track it down and wait for them to fill it out, and then they'd miss a blank or they would miss an initial. That's an electronic service that sends it to them where they cannot miss anything. And then it emails it back to us. And it's a pretty reasonable fee from what I understand. I think our brokerage pays for it, that may even be a Century 21 thing. I don't know. But that's something that we've used. And so try to find technology that supports what you're trying to do. That's not expensive. It's not worth spending the money. And I'm going to keep saying that because that's a mistake a lot of people make. And then someone said preferred client club through Century 21. I've used that some. I try to do my own version of that by taking care of people that send me referrals, or maybe I had a really good experience with someone and I want more people like them. That's when I do, a couple more of the added things for them. All right, so here's a couple of the auto emails and things. This is actually a snapshot of our Sierra Interactive, or our CRM that we use. What this does is gets our admin access to where we're at, what conversations we've had, what emails were sent. So you can do this by adding your admin to your email so they can see. Right now, all of our emails start with my admin and then they get sent out, like if it's something I need to do, because some of the things she can take care of, out of sight, out of mind. If not, she sends it to me. But this allows them to log in and say, okay, Sarah talked to the owner, the tenant's good. Here's an email that Allie sent yesterday. Here's the phone call that we had. So, when you call into a system and you're having to start from scratch and start all over, it's so annoying. So this tries to make that client understand that we're all on the same page. So it's only as good as the notes you make. But this is one of those things that if you could add your admin in where they have access to what you're doing, you're duplicating yourself instead of putting yourself on an island. All right, you can keep going, Mr. Bren. All right. So we talked about before, before we leave this room or this space, I really want you guys to pick one thing. And maybe that's one thing that you want to create a system for. Just make sure it's a bite-sized piece. We're talking about building a bridge, a Lego at a time. I want you to think little bitty, tiny steps. And that really will get you further than I would be as, as quick as tomorrow or next week. Like you want to do something quickly, get it in place, see how it feels. It's like trying to buy shoes without trying them on. Like you've got to get this in play to realize what you need and if it's going to fit.
Sarah,
Oh,
I
yes,
think
sir.
we lost you for a little bit. It
Oh no.
was just a few minutes. It definitely happened on my end. I'm not sure if it happened on anyone else's end,
No worries.
but if you could just kind of recap what you said. I
Sure.
heard tiny little Legos, one
Yes,
step at a
that's
time.
perfect. Okay. So what I was saying is take small little steps to tweak your business like we talked about. Find that biggest pain point, start on that, prioritize, based on your needs, and just do something. Do something that will save you some time. So I've sat through hundreds, probably thousands of classes and not done something after I've gone. And it's maddening because then I realized, 10 years later, like if I would have done that when I went to the class initially, I'd be ahead of the game. So find something that you really want to focus on, and then start putting into play. Don't wait till it's perfect. Do it today. Put it in, test it out, get feedback if you need to, get feedback from your clients. Don't be afraid to say, hey, how I started this new thing. How did you like that? What did you think about it? What could be better? And be open to negative feedback because that's really what you need in order to grow. So just don't be overwhelmed by the process and just pick something to get started on. All right. And I am open. I am an open book. So if there's questions, um, again, I don't have all the answers. I have a few maybe, or have what worked for me for the time being. So if there's anything I can help you guys with, or if you have a certain issue that you're trying to find a system for, that could be a good topic of conversation as well.
Awesome. Well, at this point, Sarah, first of all, wow, wow. I mean, when I was selling years ago, before people called me sir, actually, I wish I had listened to so much of what you said. So just the amount of time I could have saved myself. So congratulations and thank you for so many amazing tips. As we go through, guys, if anyone has any questions for Sarah or for our group, we have a few minutes left where we can open up the floor. Let's see. Now they're popping in. It sounds like you use well, they're moving quick. It just went. I don't know where I found it. There it is. Do you have an umbrella system to keep up with all of your systems?
So that Sierra Interactive, what I've done is when I set up an action plan, I reference those documents that I use. The seller info sheet, do you have that filled out? So I try to incorporate everything together where I'm not bouncing all around. But I do have a couple systems. So Sierra I use for CRM. I use Buffini CRM for like people I know, like my Christmas list more, or like A+ clients. So it's really about finding the system that works for you. It's like saying, you have to go to the gym to get fit. That doesn't work for everybody. So you've got to figure out what you're going to tune into and what works for you. So don't be overwhelmed by too much. Just start with the one thing that's screaming at you today.
Okay. And I have also seen a couple of questions in this realm. How much approximately do you pay for an assistant?
So what you can afford. So I started as low as I could hourly, almost like a waitress would do, but then I paid them bonuses. So that way, if I were closing houses, they got bigger bonuses. And I knew I could afford to pay bonuses because I closed them. So I found somebody that was willing to work for a little less per hour in the promise of every closing I have, this is what you're going to get paid. And so that worked for me because I didn't have that. But I'll tell you this, once you hire somebody and you realize you're in charge of their paycheck, you will do more business for sure.
Good point. Good point. Here's a question from Tawana. As a brand new agent, what do you think are the first 2 systems you recommend setting up?
So as a brand new agent, I would start with a very basic Excel spreadsheet, and you're going to put everybody you know in there. First and last name if you have it, email, address, phone number, birthday, anniversary, notes about them, sports teams that they like, anything at all. You're going to want to put them in your system and start a list. In using that Excel sheet, you're able to put that in any system that you get later down the road. So I would start there for sure. And I don't know that I would start with more than one system at this point. I would make sure that you're tracking your referrals, but that kind of goes along with that spreadsheet. You need to know if someone in your list is sending you 10 referrals this year. That's where you need to focus your time, energy, and effort and money, loving on that client instead of going to buy leads. You want to, go back to your source and, take care of them. So that spreadsheet to me would be golden. And it's universal until you find something that you want to plug it into.
Good point. I love that. I saw a couple more here. I know someone was asking about where to find the recording. Again, if you go to Celebrate 21, I'm going to write it into the chat as well, but it's celebrate21.splashthat.com. And it looks like Joe Mangum is writing it into the chat for me. Thank you, Joe. And you can access all of the recordings from all 21 days of learning that we put together for you. So make sure you stay up to date with that site.
There was a question about how long she'd been in.
Thank you, Joe.
So I started when I was, let's see, I'm terrible at math. That's why I'm not a loan officer and I have a calculator. I started when I was 20 and I'm 37. I'll be 38 this year. So whatever that is. So bad. A while, a little bit. Gail asked, what do you do to find new clients? So I don't like to spend money. So Facebook is huge for me. I started just talking to people. I don't cram real estate down their throat. I just make sure that I'm not a secret agent. I want them to know what I do without telling them, hey, I'm a real estate agent. So, taking pictures of things that I'm doing, funny things that I see, just making sure they know what I do, communicating that with them, but really loving on people that send me referrals and asking for referrals has been our biggest income producer. So, pick maybe 10, 20 people that are your A+ clients, people that will refer you, that they will refer you, and just love on them. It's easy and it's fun.
I was literally just thinking about all of the love that you're getting in the chat, and I'm having a difficult time going through the love to find some questions, but I did find a question here about business planning. And Felipe's question is, how often are you reviewing your business plan?
Do you want the Sunday school answer or how often I actually do it? So I think that your business plan needs to be in front of you daily. So last year, what we did, we actually Canva, CANVA, is a place that you can create Facebook posts, you can print postcards, all kinds of stuff. So I created this little, looked like a pamphlet, but it was one page, and it broke down my goals, everybody on my team goal, and then the goal as a team together. And I had that in front of me. So something like that is probably what I'll do again, where it's tangible. Maybe put it in your shower, on your mirror, in the bathroom, in the office, wherever you are all the time. You could always put it on, on your phone, a keychain, set a reminder to review it. But I don't think you can ever review it too often. Now I physically look at my numbers with the team once a month when numbers come out in Century 21. So usually around the 15th of the month, we see how we're comparing to other teams. We plug in our numbers and we look, how are we doing this quarter versus last year? So we have a spreadsheet that we plug stuff into, and we do look at those once a month at least.
Awesome. I love it. There's a system for everything.
Yes.
Hey, Brian, there's a rejection question that's kind of an interesting one. You see it?
Yes. How do you deal with rejections?
It's never easy, and depending on your personality type, I mean, it's not fun to be rejected, but the more you're rejected, the more often you're going to get business. So, my husband used to do door-to-door sales. He would sell, I think it was cable or something. It was whatever it was not super desirable, I'm sure. So he said people would literally slam a door in his face, and he would do this for hours and hours in the hopes of maybe making a couple $100. You have to realize that you're making thousands and thousands of dollars if you can get one person to say yes. So you really have to put that in your head. They're not mad at you, and they don't hate you. They're just not in a spot that they're ready for you. So it's hard not to project that on yourself and feel bad about it, because I've been there. I'm still there. It's not fun, but knowing that rejection gets me one step closer to a yes, it kind of keeps you going.
Awesome.
And the more business you have, the less you care. Like, we're not a good fit. That's okay. I got somebody else,
That's so true, right? There's a question here about social. I was just about to say there haven't been too many questions about social media, but now they're coming in. Someone asked about Facebook ads. If you use Facebook ads in your business.
I have in the past, just to kind of see. I'm really curious on how that stuff works a lot of the times, but the algorithms and stuff to me now are so forced, and there's bigger companies that are out there spending a lot more money to get a return, that I felt like I was getting lost in there. So I don't necessarily recommend it. I think you would be better off taking that money, spending it on your community, and posting an ad, not an ad, but posting yourself. Like, hey, we just donated to this charity, or hey, we sponsored this baseball team. To me, that type of community advertisement is better than trying to get someone to click, because people that are clicking online are clicking on probably 10 or 12 other things too. So now you've created this big competition for yourself, where if you could just get one-on-one with somebody and build relationships, then you're their go-to.
Very nice. I love that. I love keeping it.
There's that root. Oh, I think he froze.
Oh, he's frozen.
Well, okay. So how about, do you have a morning routine?
I do. And recently, this year has been kind of the year of health for me. So I've started out, when COVID hit, I realized how much time I have when I prioritize things the right way. So I've been getting up in the morning, I read, I drink some coffee, I do a Camp Gladiator workout in my living room while my dog watches, shower, and get to the office. And then I try to do everything that I hate first thing in the morning. So if I have to call somebody that's mad at me, that's what I do first. So I let a little bit of priority come in depending on what I'm not wanting to do, just to get it over with. That's why my workout is first in the morning. But yeah, I mean, calls, anything that's that priority has to happen first, because you and I both know that as the day goes on, the other things don't always make it in there. So you want to make sure that whatever needs to happen first is up here. So to me, calls, notes, talking to the people that send me business, that's talking to my team, that's a priority. And then after that, it's a lot of times it's putting out fires, returning emails, texts, things like that. So definitely put your phone away in the morning. That's probably changed my business. I turn the volume off on it, and I don't look at it until I'm ready, so that people are not being my thermostat. I'm my own thermostat. So I will look at that when I'm ready. I'm not, I don't want to be that thermometer where I'm just constantly reacting all the time every time my phone goes off. So protect your mornings for sure, and don't roll over and look at your phone.
Okay, am I back? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There we go. The next question was about Every Door Direct, or EDDM. Do you use that in your business?
I don't know what that is, so no.
There we go. Then that would answer that question, right?
Sorry. I told you I don't know much, so don't go too far out of my realm here.
Nice. Let's see. Here's a nice question for you. What's your favorite part of working in real estate?
Oh, I used to say that it was, seeing my clients go from start to finish, and, reaching their goals, and that's still up there. But because I have a team, it's seeing other agents, get it and understand, and, seeing them have that same feeling that I had, so being able to save them some time and energy on the things that they're doing, and save them some heartache. And, that's been really fun for me. And it's been very encouraging and just motivating to watch them, because they don't need me necessarily. They're all very capable and they're all very successful, but being able to pass along some of that knowledge, and even doing things like this, just passing along that knowledge. Because I wish somebody would have done a little bit more of that with me. But I've been very blessed with people in my office that have been open and sharing. So I love returning the favor.
I love you saying that. As Zig Ziglar says, you can have anything you want in life as long as you help other people get what they want in life. So that's very, very nice of you to say. Janice has defined EDDM as a postal service for every door direct mail. Thank you, Janice.
Okay.
Have a blessed. Great. Well, I think that's all. If there were any questions that I missed, there are quite a few down this list, but if there are any questions that I've missed, feel free to go to Century 21 University group in Workplace, for those of you who have access to Workplace, and tag Sarah and ask her, and I'm sure she'll help you out with that.
For sure. Thank y'all so much.
Fantastic. Well, thank you.
I'm sorry
Sarah,
you didn't have a better option today.
What?
Hey, Sarah, thank you so much. And I have to tell you, this is the epitome of our mission, delivering the extraordinary.
Thank you all.
That's terrific.
Yes, you did such a great job. Thank you, Sarah. I mean, like I said, some of the points that you've given are just absolutely amazing. But I love the fact that you kept bringing it back to, I started small. I started small.
Yes.
So many times we hear so many people say, well, I want to skip 50 steps, you know,
Right.
And here's someone who has successfully done it by starting small. And if you make a mistake, you go back, you corrected it, and you moved forward. So that is a great takeaway for me. Wow, 23 more messages came in. Good grief, we're never giving you back to your clients today.
That's okay.
But it is time for us. We have to say goodbye to Sarah. I would love to keep her here all day long. For those of you who have been a part of our Celebrate 21, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for I'm trying to get another screen up. So as you see, I'm a little distracted. We are always, there we go. Always thankful for you. And if you need to access the recordings, or if you want to check out more learning schedules that are available for the entire month of March for you, go again to celebrate21.splashthat.com. Sarah, it's been a pleasure.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you so
y'all
much
have a
for
good
everything.
day.
All right. Take care, guys. And we'll see you again soon.